Samantha Bardwell. I serve as lead pastor at Our Savior's Lutheran Church in South Minneapolis, and I'm a core clergy leader with Isaiah. Today we are standing together across multiple organizations. We are a diverse coalition of community groups, labor groups, faith groups, and we are calling on corporations to join us, to stand with us, to protect our democracy in this critical moment. We have been standing together a lot over these past months. We stood together to denounce cruelty when our president called Somali Americans garbage. We stood together to witness and to protect one another during Operation Metro Surge, when ICE agents swarmed our communities with reckless cruelty, snatching our neighbors without warrants, killing Renee Good and Alex Petty. We stood together to keep friends and family safe and fed. And we are going to keep standing together because the lies, the cruelty, the corruption, and assaults against our basic rights continue. And our very democracy is at stake. The rights and freedoms we hold dear are at stake. There are so many chilling signs that this federal administration is seeking to undermine free and fair elections, which should concern every American, no matter who you vote for. Just a few of these chilling signs include the executive order restricting mail-in voting, the DOJ seizing voter rolls, and threats of ICE presence at polling places on Election Day. For me, as a Christian minister, as a person of faith, here's why I'm here. The right to vote touches on a precious pillar of my faith, and that is that every single person is made in the image of God. Every person has inestimable divine value and worth and deserves to have a say in how we do life together as a people. As a Christian, I believe we are called to love our neighbors as ourselves. And one way we can do that is by casting our vote to select candidates who will commit themselves to shaping a just society for all people. So corporate leaders, we're looking to you now. We're looking to you as people with significant power and influence in our society. This moment requires moral courage, moral clarity, moral leadership, not just business as usual. We are calling on you to stand with us and sign the Business for Democracy pledge. We are calling on you to commit to using your power and influence to publicly oppose obstacles to free and fair elections and to protect our freedom to vote and choose our elected leaders. This is not a red or blue issue. This moment is about all of us. And in this moment, we need to stand together as one team, as Team Democracy, so we can all protect the rights and freedoms that we hold dear as Americans.
Good morning. My name is Veronica Mendez-Moore with the Step Up for Democracy campaign. Over the last month or so, our organizations that are represented here sent letters to all of the 60 corporations who signed on to the de-escalation letter through the Minnesota Chamber of Commerce during the Operation Metro Surge. They released it a day after the murder of Alex Petty. In our letter, we asked all of the corporations to use their power and influence to speak up further, and now we're asking them to sign on to the Business for Democracy pledge. This pledge asks corporations to stand on the side of democracy and publicly oppose attempts to prevent or create obstacles for people to vote, attempts to prevent the counting of the vote or the seating of duly elected candidates after the election, including taking action by closing their businesses, and that they organize the business community to do the same. On April 29th, small business owners who stood up and made sacrifices during the surge to protect our neighbors said that they are signing on to the Business for Democracy pledge and that they are calling on big businesses to do the same. Since then, we've seen a concerning pattern from the federal government with attempts to silence our voices and seize our votes. The Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act, making the ballots and the votes of black and brown voters in the South have less power. A voting rights organization based in Ohio, where a competitive congressional race is taking place, was raided by the FBI. And here in Minnesota, 15 people last week were indicted by an out-of-control DOJ that won't even investigate the killers of Renee Good and Alex Preddy. Yet recent history has shown us that when corporations speak up, Trump bends. Big businesses have a critical role to play in preserving our democracy, and they cannot stay on the sidelines. Every day that they do, more assaults on our freedoms become norms. Today, we're going to hear from a few people and organizations. We're going to talk about some of the specific corporations that they are calling on to step up and sign the Business for Democracy pledge.
Hello, my name is Rebecca Larson. I'm with Indivisible Twin Cities. I'm a co-leader. We are a local chapter of the National Indivisible Movement. We are pro-democracy, anti-authoritarian, and we provide ways for people to turn their outrage and anxiety into action and get involved in peaceful, nonviolent protest and resistance. I'm proud to be here today to call on all corporations, but specifically Best Buy, to join with everyday Minnesotans to sign the Business for Democracy pledge. I'm going to read a quote. This moment in our country's history is fraught with political and social division. There are increasingly few things we can all agree on, but one, we believe, is that the bedrock of the democracy we love is the right to a free and fair election. An election cannot be free nor fair if every eligible voter is not given a full chance to vote, or if laws exist that make it harder to do so. That quote was written in April of 2021 and posted on Best Buy's website. But it could have been written today, and the statement is more important than ever. So we feel, in a way, like for Best Buy, this should be a no-brainer. Over the past year, we've seen Minnesotans stepping up in countless ways, attending No Kings rallies, union organizing, school walkouts, leaders and members of faith communities using their influence and their voices, ordinary people meeting the moment during the occupation of our cities. We have seen small businesses, especially many immigrant-owned, suffer economic hardship as a result of the ICE occupation, and still we saw many of them support the boycott on January 23rd. It is time for corporations to do the same, come off the sidelines, and use their power to step up for democracy. So we are calling first on Best Buy because we trust that they are an ally based on what they've said in the past. We invite them and every corporation headquartered in Minnesota to sign this common sense pledge. Common sense, emphasis on common sense, which says that if there are attacks on our freedom to vote, either before, during, or after the election, we will come together and use all the tools at our disposal to take a stand. Thank you.
My name is Raven Lee. I'm a member of Unidos and a constitutional observer. When I heard about the 15 that were arrested, I had fear. Fear for myself, fear for my family, and to be honest, I'm scared speaking out today. And that's what our administration wants. They want us to be afraid. They want us to not speak. They want us to be scared. And the closer we get to midterm elections, they're going to keep going. But we are not backing down. Last fall, we asked Target to speak up about Operation Metro Surge, to say ICE does not belong on their property. But when 2 of their minor employees got abducted, Jonathan Garcia and Christian Romano, I said nothing, Target said nothing. When they said I'm a citizen, they said nothing. There's a quote from Christian after he got thrown out of the vehicle. He said, "I am not okay. They smashed me into the ground. This is a baby that they are doing this to." And Target still said nothing. We've engaged them. We've given Target the opportunity to sign the Business for Democracy pledge, and still silence. Target is a Fortune 500 company. They have tremendous influence, and they've chosen to stay silent. That silence makes them complacent to the agenda of this administration. We won't keep waiting. We will keep standing up, and we will keep demanding that Target do too. Thank you.
Hi everybody, I'm Nick Benson. I am a airplane nerd. I am a flight data activist with Minnesota 5051. Since early November, myself and my team with 5051 have observed 130 charter flights flying chained detainees for ICE away to ICE concentration camps. I've seen people in wheelchairs, people who are pregnant, someone who is still in their Amazon delivery driver uniform, even people who work at the airport itself in chains being flown out of MSP. And these are on charter airlines. For months now, myself along with community, labor, and faith groups have been organizing and marching at the airport. We've been condemning the action of the federal government and the inaction of big businesses and our local government. On January 23rd, 100 clergy members, some of whom are standing behind me right now, were arrested. Some of them had Delta Speak Out signs around their necks. We later learned that Delta was not just a silent partner in all of this. They were flying Minnesota kids, including Liam and some 70 others we suspect, from Minneapolis down to Texas and to Michigan. Liam and his father were flown on a Delta flight to San Antonio, to the Dilley Detention Center. So once again, we're demanding Delta Airlines use its power as the most valuable, powerful global airline worth over $50 billion, last I checked, to do three things. They need to sign the pledge, the common sense pledge we've been talking about here today. They need to use their lobbying efforts for us and not for ICE. And they need to help bring our neighbors home when the government dumps them away from home in Louisiana or Texas or wherever they end up in federal detention. So this is a reasonable ask. Delta has committed to many of these values before, and they've done so effectively. In 2021, Delta and Coca-Cola in Georgia responded to pressure from black activists there to speak out forcefully against some voter suppression laws there. They even called it unacceptable. It's pretty powerful language for a big company like Delta. After the 2020 elections, they pushed back against the voter fraud claims, again, that were in Georgia. And in 2018, the family separation policy ended after other airlines, not Delta, put their feet down and said, we are not going to be complicit in family separation anymore. It was a causal thing. The airlines put their feet down. Hours later, Trump signed the executive order ending that policy. They have the ability to end family detention right now. They just need to put their foot down and do it. Delta, to their credit, did eventually sign that, joined the chorus of other airlines condemning family separation in 2018, but they only did so after the ink on that order was dry. They waited until Trump spoke before they were able to speak themselves. So, in conclusion, Delta, you don't need to wait around this time. Sign the pledge today. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Lizzie. I have worked in the service industry for about 11 years. I used to work at a restaurant called Cardinal here in Minneapolis. Tool has become my organizing group via our ongoing battle with Daniel Delgado's restaurant group. And 2 weeks ago, 17 of us filed unfair labor unfair labor charges at the NLRB for DDP evidently retaliating against us for our organizing to make our shop a safer place. We went on strike, like so many other Minnesotans, this January to demand an end to Operation Metro Surge and to demand that DDP take basic steps to protect all cardamom workers and customers alike from ICE's violence. And that's the thing. We were saying it back in January that Operation Metro Surge was an attack against all working people, regardless of immigration status. We are continuing to see these attacks well into June, and it is no coincidence that the majority of the community members who were indicted for their organizing 1 week ago were union members or labor organizers. We see what happened on June 16th clearly for what it is. Another federal attack against the working people of Minnesota who dare to organize against authoritarianism. It is also no coincidence that the federal government is going after black and brown people, is going after organizations that are building political power with black or brown people, as they did in Ohio 2 weeks ago. The Trump administration has a vested interest in attempting to discourage the working class from voting, but we will not be intimidated. The whole country saw how working people organized to nonviolently resist ICE's many abuses of power during Operation Metro Surge, and we are just getting started. We know we can win. So, to the billionaire class, we're calling on you to pick a side. Yes. You have to choose to stand with us, the people, instead of continuing to be a pillar that is holding up Donald Trump's authoritarian power grabs. Here in Minnesota, we call on the Palat family to do the right thing. The Palats are homegrown Minnesota billionaires. They own the Minnesota Twins, United Properties, a major developmental company, and they have major influence on the downtown business associations, council, and downtown revitalization efforts. In other words, they have the opportunity to set a precedent and stand on the side of workers and all other Minnesotans as we face continued attacks. Chris Palat, we have seen your op-ed addressing how occupation was bad for restaurant owners. We want to know, what about this ongoing federal violence has affected us workers, whether they be construction workers who develop your projects or restaurant workers downtown who make Minneapolis thrive. At Cardamom, we workers lost our jobs because we dared to organize against ICE. What about us? We and our supporters have sent thousands of letters to Hospitality Minnesota, asking them to use their power in downtown council and business associations to protect all restaurant workers from the violence and violations of First Amendment rights. We even delivered a giant Valentine to the Hospitality Minnesota offices on February 13th with our demands. So, Palat family, are you finally ready to stand with us, the workers? Sign on to Business for Democracy pledge now, or continue to find yourself on the wrong side of history. It really is that simple.
Hello, my name is Julie Martinez. I am a hospital dietary aide in St. Paul and a proud member of SEIU of Minnesota Retirement. We represent workers in hospitals, clinics, nursing homes, and self-directed workers. Recently, Sutter Health, a large California-based company, began its goal to acquire the entirety of electric health. In reaction to this release, SEIU has strengthened bonds with both our sister unions and incredible community groups. Our goal is to ensure that acquisitions like this do no harm to workers, patients, or local employees. We We are fighting for a fair, accessible, health system. All of those efforts are for naught if we cannot have a functioning, flourishing democracy. Well, I could literally talk all day about the power of the people. We all know large corporations have major say in how funds are allocated and power is distributed. Our state is home to massive healthcare enterprises. What we work with as is for them to stand with us. Healthy communities need cooperation. Healthy communities deserve democracy. We are asking you to sign this common sense pledge. Business for democracy, no brainer. Use your sway to ensure we have free, fair, and properly democratic elections. Be brave like us. Decide your place in history. Step up for democracy by encouraging voters' voices